Hey, what is going on, Guardians? Gray here with another Destiny 2 PvP video. In today's video, I want to talk about a subclass that I don't think gets the respect that it deserves. It is an incredibly powerful subclass, and shame on me for not playing with it sooner and discovering its true potential. I'm talking about the Sunbreaker spec for Titans. It's the solar spec for them, and you don't see it have that much play inside of PvP, mainly because you have things like Bottom Tree Striker, and even Sentinels can have a really powerful toolkit inside of PvP if you know how to use it right. So I don't think you see a lot of players going with Solar Titan naturally. And if you run the right setups, this can be extremely powerful. I mean, it definitely shines inside of 6v6 and the bigger playlists. It's not as powerful when you take it into those more focused playlists, but it still brings a lot to the table. And if you can get good with it, I mean, it can definitely compete at a high level if you know how to play it right, especially when you consider some of the exotics that you can use with this subclass. So if you guys enjoy the video, please leave a like below and consider hitting that subscribe button. We're going to dive into this spec and my experience with it. I just want to talk about it a little bit, what loadouts you might want to use, what exotics will pair well with it. So if you want to check it out, stick around because I'm going to talk about it a lot. I really enjoy this subclass. I'm going to be sticking with it for a while because I find it just kind of refreshing in a lot of ways. It's really fun to play. But starting off, we need to go over the basics of Sunbreaker and Titan in general. And if you're going to be diving into the subclass, what you might want to run. You're of course going to want to bring Towering Barricade into PvP. It's just the better option. It offers more cover. It can even shut down sort of tight corridors. You can block off a whole doorway with the shield if you place it right. As far as jump preferences, I like to pretty much always go with strafe lift. I know some people use catapult lift in certain situations. It can be really good, but I prefer the lateral movement that strafe lift will give you. You can move pretty quick with it if you time your jumps right and basically Titan skate with it. And as far as the grenade goes, this one is kind of complicated when it comes to Solar Titan. I would say the Thermite grenade is really not that great. It's really strong in PvE and you can use it in certain situations, but it doesn't really do enough damage. It'll hit them and then they can move out of it before the next wave of damage, and you're not going to get as much value out of it as you would running one of the other two grenades. I personally enjoy the Incendiary grenade. It's kind of just like a frag grenade from Halo. I grew up playing those games, so it just feels natural to me. I can chuck it in and it goes right where I need it to. But there are certain exotics that make the fusion grenade absolutely insane. We'll talk about that a little later in the video. But I like to try the Incendiary grenade. You could go with fusion if you enjoy it, or if you're pairing it with the Ashen Wake exotic. Looking at the subclass, we have Mortar Blast for our melee ability. And this makes it so whenever you strike an enemy, it releases a solar explosion which will set nearby enemies on fire. It's very powerful, and this season you can pair it with Solar Plexus on the artifact to make this thing extremely strong, and it's going to come into play more once we learn about the subclass a little bit. We also have Soul Invictus, where your solar ability kills will restore your health. So if you can get that melee ability kill, it's going to give you health back. Your grenade, melee ability, and Sun Warrior kills will leave a deadly sunspot in their wake. The sunspots are key to this subclass, and it's really important that you understand how to take advantage of them as much as possible. Looking at the Sun Warrior perk, you can see passing through a sunspot causes your grenade and melee abilities to recharge faster and your super lasts longer. It also increases all damage that you do. That is the crown jewel of this subclass, is that line of text right there. Standing inside of a sunspot and getting that Sun Warrior buff is going to give you a 20% damage buff for the duration of Sun Warrior. It's really important and really key to take advantage. I can't say that enough. Finally, we have Endless Siege, where your hammers create a sunspot on impact, and while you're standing in a sunspot, you throw your hammers faster. It's a nice benefit to have when you pop your super. You can really get quite a lot more hammers out of your super if you manage to stay in or near a sunspot. You can just pop in and out of it and be throwing hammers super fast, and they'll last. Your super will end up lasting longer as a result. So moving on to the loadouts you might want to pair with this subclass, you can be pretty flexible with this subclass, really. I would say it definitely rewards aggressive play, as most Titan subclasses do. Like I said, getting those solar melee kills will restore your health. The solar grenade kills will also do the same thing, but the melee ability pairs nicely with a shotgun. I was just using Fellwinter's Lie. Basically, it's a very powerful shotgun. I messed around with Astral Horizon as well. I'm really starting to like that shotgun as well. But close quarter weapons are going to be very beneficial for the subclass, because if you do get that kill, you'll be closer to the sunspot that spawns if you do get an ability kill, and you'll be able to take advantage of it a little easier. That's not to say you can't snipe. You definitely can, and getting the damage buff in a sunspot combined with certain snipers is nothing to laugh at either. You can get body shots really easily. So the choice is really yours. I prefer a shotgun on Titan most of the time anyway, so it felt natural to me. For my primary, I was just using Dire Promise, a classic hand cannon, but you could use any AR. You can even see my inventory. I've got Surus Regime right there. I was messing around with that a little bit, and it's very, very powerful. So any combination of anything that's meta is going to work pretty good on Sunbreaker. As far as armor goes, I'll be brief about this, but I wanted to throw it out there because I've been finding a lot of success with some of these mods. I like to do what I call the Charge with Light package, and it includes 3 mods that I like to throw into my gear somewhere. And that starts off with stacks on stacks. Anywhere on your gear, if you can run stacks on stacks, it's going to make it so every time you gain a stack of Charge with Light, you get an extra stack, basically. So every time, if you were to get 1 stack, you'll have 2. Pretty straightforward, but super beneficial if you know how to use these Charge with Light mods. Next on the list, of course, we're going to need Taking Charge. Becoming Charged with Light, you become Charged with Light by picking up an Orb of Light. And if you're playing in 6s, this happens really, really often, especially if you're playing with masterworked weapons. I know that's a weird thing to point out. I don't think a lot of people think about that, but your masterwork weapons are going to generate orbs every time you get a multi-kill. And the window of time for that's actually pretty generous. You can get 1 kill, a few seconds later get your 2nd kill, and it'll probably drop an orb. You can pick that up and have 2 stacks of Charge with Light right away. People are popping their supers, other people are making orbs. They're all over the place in 6s. The final mod we pair that with is High Energy Fire. So when you're Charged with Light, you gain additional weapon damage. This gives you another 20% buff to your weapon damage. It does not stack with Sun Warrior as far as I know. I could be wrong on that, but I'm almost positive that it doesn't stack with Sun Warrior. It will stack with things like Kill Clip on your weapon though. You can combine it with different buffs to do some insane damage, and I like to throw it into my build because it creates a lot more opportunities to be very, very lethal. If you're getting Charged with Light buff, if you're getting Sun Warrior buff, you're getting Kill Clip, all these different things are giving you extra bonus damage, and it's insane. I just wanted to throw that in there because I think they're a lot of fun and a lot of people sleep on them, so they're really nice to take advantage of, especially in those big playlists. And finally, I want to talk about a couple of exotic pairings that you could use with this subclass. And the first one that stood out to me the most immediately, of course, it naturally goes with Bottom Tree Sunbreaker, is the Phoenix Cradle Exotic Legs. These things are really, really cool, and it makes it so your Sun Warrior buff lasts twice as long. So by default, it's a 5-second buff. Using this exotic, it becomes 10 seconds, and that's nothing to laugh at. That's a 20% damage buff for 10 seconds. That's pretty nuts. Also, it makes it so allies who pass through your sunspots are also granted Sun Warrior, which is a really cool benefit to your team. They can just run through your sunspot and have a damage buff, and a lot of people will do it unknowingly, but if you're playing in a team, let them know. Be sure to let them know that they can run through your sunspots and get a free damage buff. It's pretty awesome, especially when you know people are taking advantage of it. I like it because it gives you that extra time to get another Sun Warrior kill and get another sunspot, or it's going to give you your grenades back quicker or your melee back quicker, and you can chain your sunspots back to back, and that's sort of what the build becomes about. You want to be getting those sunspots going. I know it sounds a little crazy and you don't want to play into it too much, but if you can get the ball rolling with your sunspots and stick with it, you're just going to snowball. You'll just be a beast, and it'll be really hard to shut you down. Next, I want to talk about one that can kind of be paired with any of the subclasses on Sunbreaker, but you could use it with Bottom Tree or Middle Tree, and that, of course, I'm sure you've seen it lately. Everyone's talking about it. That's the Ashen Wake Exotic Gauntlets. This thing is absolutely nuts. It makes it so your fusion grenades now explode immediately on impact, and they gain increased throw speed, and final blows with your grenades will give you grenade energy. In PvP, that equals your entire grenade. So if you get a kill with your fusion grenade, you immediately get it back, and it blows up right where you throw it. You can be really precise with it. And if you pair this with Middle Tree and get roaring flames going, you can one-shot people with your grenades. It's actually insane. I can't believe more people don't take advantage of it, but it's nuts. I'm gonna do a separate video on that because it deserves its own video. But it's a really good pairing for that tree, but you can also use it with bottom tree as well, especially if you're, of course, you're gonna use the fusion grenade, but that is a nice benefit if you're not so much about the sunspots, you wanna be more aggressive with your grenades and stuff. You can totally use Ashen Wake with bottom tree if you want to, and it's definitely a viable option. So I hope you guys are enjoying the gameplay in the background and seeing the potential of this subclass. I'm not a god at it by any means, and I know that there are people who have been maining Sunbreaker since day one, and I'm just a newbie compared to them. I totally understand that. But I think this subclass is really cool, and I'm kind of digging the theme everyone's going with right now, trying out some of these lesser known subclasses, and just pairing them with the right stuff to really bring them to light and let them shine inside of the Crucible. And I think that Solar Titan kind of gets slept on in a lot of situations, so I wanted to try it out, and I had a lot of success with it. I hope you do too. I think it's definitely a fun, viable option. In competitive situations, it's not necessarily the best, but if you can play it right and your team can play around you, it can be really successful. I've seen some crazy Solar Titans in trials that pop off, and it's really cool to watch happen. You're like, that guy is just being a G and playing his way and kicking everyone's ass, and that's how Destiny is supposed to be played. So it's been a lot of fun to try out some of these different subclasses. I'm going to do another video with Ashen Wake and Solar Titan and all of that. If you guys have any questions about the subclass or recommended loadouts or questions you want to ask me, feel free to drop it in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, again, please consider leaving a like below and maybe hit that subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on all things Destiny 2. Let me know if you try this out, and let me know if you have success with it. I've had a lot of fun with it lately. It's cool to mix things up during these sort of dry content periods for Destiny. It's a good time to really dive deep with the sandbox. So for you tryhards out there who are looking for something to do, consider diving into PvP, because the sandbox is really rewarding if you can make it work for you. Thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate your time. Take care.